Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. This edition of Strengthening Oklahoma is brought to you by Pub W. Whether it is brunch, lunch, happy hour, or dinner, Pub W has it all. Visit pubdub.com to find a location near you. We continue to wrap up the weekend in Morgantown and look forward to a big week this week. Bedlam, Oklahoma State coming to Norman, and it's senior night coming up at Memorial Stadium on Saturday. Final time a lot of these seniors potentially take the field. And to help us shape all those conversations, welcome to the show, linebacker, Mr. DaShaun White. D. White, man, how you doing? Great to have you.
Man, good as always, dog. How about you?
Same, man. Just kind of like everybody, just season grinding on and trying to get to the finish and finish strong, which I'm sure you guys are trying to do the exact same thing. You don't want to spend too much time on what happened in Morgantown, but we definitely want to take a look back. Just first and foremost, the start. Like, you guys got off to playing some of the best defense you played all year. First 6 possessions, you get 6 stops, and then unable to get those stops there in the second half. What was going right to start the game, and what helped enable you guys to have so much success early against West Virginia?
Our communication was off the charts. That was the best we've communicated all year. I think everyone sort of knows that. Just our before the snap kind of being together, talking about what we see, where I'm at in the fit, where I'm at in the pass coverage. I mean, it was every single play. There was an intention and a purpose to kind of our communication. And that was something that, we said we were going to really, really get better at, because we knew that, a lot of our busts in the past have been just self-inflicted. And so our thing was we wanted to communicate as much as possible to be able to take all the unnecessary, just giving offense things, which, yeah.
How much communication was there between you, your teammates, the coaching staff when they made the switch to Garrett Green? Because obviously you guys were getting after JT Daniels. I mean, he did not look like he was having much fun back there, bro. But when they made the switch to a more mobile guy, what was that conversation like?
Kind of as soon as he got in, they were just telling us about how he's obviously the run guy, not as great of, or maybe as consistent as an arm, but he's the run guy. We got to expect a lot of, Q counters more. A lot of the things that we were doing, like with our blitz patterns and stuff, like, we weren't even really worried about the first quarterback keeping it. We were kind of, we were second guessing, but we weren't really worried about the first guy keeping it. But we knew that with Green, there was a good chance that he was probably going to keep most or keep it more times than not. And so we just knew that he was going to bring a big, run side to the game, and knew we had to be prepared for that.
In the second half, big kick return before halftime. They get a chunk play. They get that score before half. And then really more so even the second half, they score on 3 of their final 4 drives, long, lengthy drives, 12 plays for each of the touchdown drives, and then 15 for the field goal drive. Was it more about what they were doing? Was it things that you guys felt you weren't doing? And really just kind of the inability to get off the field. Was that more about them, or is that more about you guys?
Man, it's all us, dog. It's all us. We had some opportunities to get off the field, and we had flags. We had some opportunities to even score on offense. We had flags. We had opportunities to do some things on special teams, and we had flags. There's we can't have that many penalties for one. We just shoot ourselves in the foot too much with that, and then when the game's on the line, like, we got to execute at the highest level of the game. Everything's on the line. All the chips are on the table. And so there's got to be a focused sort of – everybody has to be intensely focused to be able to get the job done. And so we had some really small lapses at the end of the game there that cost us.
Yeah, I imagine the frustration level is high, DaShaun, after that one. How did you handle the locker room after the game as one of the leaders of the team, right? Like, how did you handle the disappointment of not getting a win?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of disappointment, but I think that the most important thing is that um, we're honest and we're just aware. We take what the tape gives us, and that was that. From a big picture, big team standpoint, we just didn't play disciplined enough to win that game. Like I said, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot with the penalties, and then on top of that, we have some. You get a guy maybe third and whatever the case may be. If your hands get on him before he gets the sticks, you got to get him down. We got to be able to capitalize on those moments within the game, and just that comes through preparation, just being ready for that moment, being ready play after play after play, which is it's exhausting, but that's the fun part of this game. So.
No question. You've been around a long time. You played a lot of football at Oklahoma. You've been a part of some really good teams. This team's 5-5,
Yeah.
and it's kind of uncharted waters for a lot of you guys. But you're one of the leaders of this team. What's your message? What's your mindset as you try to close out this season the right way, especially with such a big game with Oklahoma State coming to Norman this week?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, this is like within all those teams that I've been on, I love this team more than any team I've ever been on. I think that's why it makes a lot of this really kind of rough. Just because even from that standpoint, like I know how hard we work. I know the guys in that room and just everything around it. So it's definitely kind of rough to see that we're not maybe getting everything back, or we're not seeing the fruits of our labor sort of deal yet. But I know that just the opportunity to kind of enjoy all the moments with this team and just be a big brother to a lot of young guys, and just kind of showing them right from wrong and stuff like that is something that's been really big for me this year. And then I obviously want to finish the right way, just because this place is kind of it's elite, and it's really kind of owed that. You come here to play behind some of the best ever, and so just for an opportunity for a good finish is it's not going to right all the wrongs, but it'll make us feel a lot better. And so that's all we're focused on right now is a good finish.
So you're a Texas guy, right?
Yeah.
But you've been around a while now in the state of Oklahoma. What does this game mean to you?
Yeah.
What's Bedlam mean to you?
It's a fight, man. It's a fist fight, and it's like honestly, I'm really excited. And you asked me that question, and immediately in my head, I kind of get a little image of the press conference Spencer had last year before the game, and so yeah, it just makes me think of a fight that came to my mind. So yeah.
It's crazy to think, back to last year's game and everything going into that, and then everything that happened immediately after that.
Yeah.
Any of that come back into play? I mean, just from an emotional standpoint, to think about, how tough that loss was in Stillwater. And then obviously the coach leaves the very next day. Like, does this game coming up this week, does it bring back some of those emotions, some of those thoughts?
Definitely can remember how tough that loss was. Without a doubt, I remember it. Just kind of sitting on the field after the game and soaking up that moment. No, I can remember that very vividly. Yeah, I don't want to feel like that again, to be honest with you.
I like it. Now, looking at their team, Spencer Sanders at quarterback, right? He's the guy that makes everything go. With what you've seen so far this week, just how dangerous of a player is he?
He's a really good player. I mean, this is a guy that I've played pretty much my entire life, back to high school. So I know him pretty well, and he's always been the same guy. He's been a really big playmaker, big arm, great on his feet. He's a really good leader. He's able to bring up a lot of guys around him. I think that's what makes him so good. So he's going to present a challenge for us. Honestly, happy that he's playing his best ball, so we'll get probably the best challenge for him. It'll be a lot of fun. And so, yeah, looking forward to it.
as far as them running the football, they've struggled to get their running game going, but they're going to attempt to try to do it against you
Yeah.
guys, test you guys. How big is that? Just slowing down and minimizing their ability to run the football.
Yeah, it's going to be a big deal to make them one-dimensional. We kind of already know that their O-line isn't as good as it's been in the past, and so that's something that I hope we're trying to chomping at the bits to exploit. We want to be in the backfield all day on those guys, shut the run down early, and kind of make them a one-dimensional, very like put them in a box to where we sort of know what they're about to do next. No, it's going to be a big deal to stop the run Saturday.
Now, you've been more involved in coverage than you've been in your entire career this year with the position change, right?
Yeah.
If you're able to make them one-dimensional and you look at their passing attack, who kind of stands out to you? Because the guy that stands out to me is Bryson Green, number 9. Like, he's made some really impressive plays. Brennan Presley's the guy that's got good speed. Who kind of stands out to you when it comes to the pass catchers?
I would use both of those names. I really would. Those two do a really good job, and I think that Spencer honestly does a good job of making the right reads. He doesn't force feed a whole lot. He knows how to make a right read and throw it to where the ball is supposed to go. So he's good with his eyes and deception early in the snap, and so there's going to be a lot of things where he might be looking one way where we kind of got to sit and wait, and so that'll be a really big, important thing for us backers on Saturday.
No question. That's one area that, to me, he's really improved on. You mentioned his eyes, looking off coverage. I feel like there's times early in his career where he kind of stare guys down. Yeah. Like he's learned how to play the quarterback position. It seems like the more I watch him on tape, the more I'm impressed with just his overall maturation at the spot. Have you noticed that over the years, having played against him now several times now?
No doubt. I think definitely early in his career, he was kind of I'm going to look directly at the guy I'm throwing it to, but definitely not the case anymore. He's doing a really good job of just I don't think people understand how big of a deal that is, just to deceive all the defensive backs and your looks and different stuff like that. So no, he's doing a much better job at it.
So it is senior night, right? Senior night, Bedlam, pretty awesome combination. Now, you went through senior night last year.
Yeah.
And you're going to go through it again, but you got another year of eligibility. And I'm assuming you haven't made a decision, and that's a conversation that'll happen after the regular season. But like with all that going on, man, what are the emotions going to be like for you?
They're going to be high, man. I'm kind of anticipating that. But honestly, I just like the way I don't get nervous or kind of get my head over my whatever you want to call it. I just stay in the moment, I stay close to my teammates. Sometimes pregame, I might make somebody mad trying to be a little bit funny, but it's really how I just like stay in the moment and stay chill and keep myself in a place where I feel like I can go and perform. So
it's awesome, man. Well, if, regardless if it's your last game or not, it'll be the last game this season on that field, and you always want to finish strong. So can't wait to see exactly what that looks like on Saturday night. Fan questions. Let's get to those. They're always brought to you by our great friends at Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Haley W. wants to know, has your leadership style changed this season with how the season has gone? Good question by Haley.
Yeah, definitely, I would say that. I know that there was an instance earlier this year. I think it was after the Texas loss when I kind of just I sat back and I had a few coaches kind of telling me that they thought I was maybe off during the Texas game or something like that, and so I had to sit back and really reflect. And I think that that day and maybe even a few games before that, I was being really like when I was coming into the game, I was just really locked in and I was really quiet and I was really kind of taking myself to a state of like anger and trying to flip that switch and just kind of realizing that like all throughout camp and everything, I was bringing this sort of infectious energy to the team, and we get there for that Texas game, and I wasn't bringing any of that, and so that was probably just seeing how that really affected us as a defense that day. I'm not going to say that's the reason that we lost or gave up what we gave up, but I would definitely say that if I had came in there sharper that day, it wouldn't have been that bad. I know that for a fact. And so that was just something that I had, like, I put it on me. You know, I got to come in, I got to bring that energy, I got to bring that juice, just kind of get our guys going. And that's a responsibility as a leader that I have to bring, you know. And it's a sacrifice that I got to make and within my own personal game or getting ready for my own personal self, just so that the team can be better. And honestly, I went and tried that the next few weeks, and it was something that I realized an immediate difference. So yeah, that's something that I would definitely say has changed my leadership this year.
That's really interesting to hear, man, because sometimes you got to step outside of your comfort zone to lead the group. It's weird. It just doesn't come naturally all the time, which I think some people just assume like, oh, he's the leader. It just comes naturally to him. That's not the case. So that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Got one more for you from How R.
Okay.
He asks, how different has this season been than your others at OU? Boy, is that a loaded question, man. Good luck with that one.
Hey, no, it's been different. Clearly, not as many wins as we're used to. I think what I was saying earlier is kind of what I keep getting back to is just how I've never been on a team that I've been this close to, and just a group of guys that I've been this close to, and that I love this much. And so, for me, it's a little bit bittersweet in the sense that we're not getting all the wins that we want, but like I get to get up every day and go practice and be in meetings all day with like my best friends, my brothers, and so it makes every part of this season really worth it, to be honest with you, and just enjoying all the moments with my teammates and my coaches, and really my family is what it feels like every day. And so for me, that's been kind of the silver lining of it all. You know, it hadn't been, you know, we're not winning as much as we're used to, but man, I have a gratitude to just go in there and be with my teammates and kind of help some of the younger guys away, laugh and all the little things in between. So
that's awesome, man. I'll tell you what, it's always easier to laugh after you play well and after you win. But it's great though that you guys have that bond, have that relationship, that even during a tough season, you can lean on each other. You can come together and hopefully that pays dividends this week and to close out the season, man. D. White, it's always a pleasure. We appreciate you, man. And you've had a heck of a season, and I hope you continue to play well and finish strong. We'll talk to you again next time, bro. Thanks for the time today.
Yep. Appreciate you.
Big thanks to DaShaun White for joining us. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. The breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center, is one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. Great perspective from DaShaun White. Enjoyed talking with him. I don't know how many people watch these podcasts or listen to these podcasts, and wherever you are, we appreciate you very much. But I don't know how many people listen to that and they go, oh yeah, you're just saying that. You're just saying that. I get a real genuine feeling that what DaShaun said and, you know, what we heard from Reggie on Monday, I think it's genuine. I think it's real. I think that this first year of the Brent Venables era, this Team 128, they really do seem like a very cohesive group. They seem like, you know, they're in this thing together. Now, it hasn't yielded results that you want. It hasn't netted wins at the level everyone's accustomed to seeing at Oklahoma. But when you talk about foundational pieces that you want to see, those are things that are very important. So I know that at the end of the day, fans want wins. That's what they want. I get it. That's what they want. And I'm not saying that they're wrong for that. But I do think that like what's going on, the team bonding, some of the things that Coach Venables and his staff have implemented since they got there, I do think that those are very important aspects that sure hope at some point, rear them, that they yield wins and they reveal themselves as being very important pieces. I believe in that. I think that it will. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I really do like what I hear from these players. And I don't think they're just saying it to say it. I think it's genuine. And I think that there really is something special going on from a team family atmosphere there within that locker room and on that team.
Yeah, this is kind of the way that I've put it, Dusty. It's like you cannot feel great about this team and still feel great about the culture of the program and where this thing is headed.
Right.
And just every guy that we talk to mentions how close they feel to their teammates, how much they believe in Coach Venables and the way that he's doing things. And I know it's about wins and losses. It's always going to be that way. But if you've got guys feeling that way, you have them bought in to that level, it eventually, if you get enough talent and the right guys in the right spot, it eventually should translate to a lot of wins.
Yep.
That's usually how it works. Not only in football, but in sports. If you've got a great culture and you got talented players bought in, you should win a lot of games. So that's something that, and I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, fans, be patient. No, be disappointed with 5-5. We all are. The players, the coaches, the fans, everyone is disappointed with 5-5. But it is encouraging to hear these guys talk about that stuff, because I do think it bodes well for where this program is headed and what this thing could look like next year and beyond. So I know there's this small group out there like Venables isn't the man for the job. Well, how can you hear these players talk about the team and the culture the way that they do, how much they care for their head coach the way that they do, and not be a little excited for the future? Like, once again, very disappointing season, but it does feel like that foundation that Venables always talks about, it sounds like it's being built in a very solid way. So I'm sad that the season has gone the way that it has gone, but I still remain very, very hopeful and optimistic for how this thing is going to look moving forward.
I agree with you. And for some, they may say, oh, homers, former players, you're just saying that. I believe it. And if it's incorrect, if it's wrong, I'll say it at some point. But I still think 1 year in, you're too early on to know exactly if this is truly going to work or if it's not going to work. That's what I believe. And I'm going to continue to remain optimistic and believe that Brent Venables is going to get this thing right. I think the man, who he is, what he stands for, the leader of men that he is, how much he knows about football, I'm going to believe that he can get this thing right. But clearly, I can also acknowledge it hadn't gone well. It hadn't gone well year one. Like so I think both can be true. And, again, it may have looked, felt, tasted, smelt different. They can win these last two games. They go 7-5. Bob Stoops went 7-5 his first year. Even if you go back and look at what Nick Saban did in his first year, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. They had their struggles as well. And I'm not trying to compare Brent Venables to those coaches. I'm only pointing out that even all-time great coaches have shown up somewhere, and it hasn't just been conference championship, national championship in year number one. It'd be great if you could get there immediately. It really would. But it doesn't always work out that way. And I think this is, I want to say it's a marathon, because in college football, you don't have a marathon. Like, you've got to get there pretty quickly, but it's also not a sprint. And I think that it's okay to be disappointed, upset with this season, yet still optimistic about the future of the program the way you put. I think that's 100% spot on. And it's the way I look at it right now. As far as Oklahoma State goes this week, I think it's going to be a knockdown dragout, dude. I think that what DaShaun White said, fist fight, that's what Bedlam is to me. It's a fist fight. And, Spencer Sanders is tough. He's tough. He's playing at a very high level. And he's already said he's going to go. And it's going to force Oklahoma to have to be able to get some stops and deal with a quarterback that is playing with a ton of confidence. And even if he's not fully healthy, he's shown the ability to still be able to make plays and gut out and play through some pain that he's going through. You mentioned Green and Presley. I totally agree. I think that those are the two guys, especially in the underneath and space game with Presley, the way they get him the football. A lot of people here in the state know how good he and his brother are in space, coming out of Bixby. And, tackling him on the perimeter is going to be a real key in this football game. And, Braden Johnson came back, and he's another guy who can go up and get the ball down the field. And then we saw Jaden Bray last week back as well, who's a Norman product, who I would imagine would love nothing more than to have a big day against the Sooners team, who he grew up in their backyard. He's going to be back home playing in Norman for the first time since he was in high school, and he wasn't offered a scholarship. So, they've been banged up all year. They're getting a little bit healthier at wide receiver. And to me, like, stopping the run, yeah, you need to stop the run, but Oklahoma State struggles around the football. I think for Oklahoma defensively, pressure on Spencer Sanders, as well as coverage on the back end, to the plethora of wide receivers they're going to see. I think it's the biggest key for this Oklahoma defense in the game.
That I completely agree. I think Oklahoma State's going to throw it all around the yard.
Yep.
Right? I think that's going to be their approach. And DaShaun mentioned the communication that was really good early there against West Virginia. It has to be great in this game because Oklahoma State is back to playing with that hyper tempo.
Yes.
So it's all happening very, very quickly. And with how experienced Spencer Sanders is, he's incredibly comfortable operating at that tempo, and he's seeing stuff clearly. He's seeing it as clear as he's ever seen it since he's been there at Oklahoma State. So you got to handle the tempo and that passing game from Spencer Sanders. And I think the key is, like, make him play quarterback. Man, he's been way better throwing the football this year. He's looked good, even with the hurt shoulder. Like, he's looked good. But you got to make him play from the pocket. You cannot let him use his legs to hurt you. Like, if you got to pick one or the other, make him beat you throwing the football. Make him beat you fitting the ball in tight windows. Don't let him be, don't let him rack up 100+ yards rushing with a couple rushing touchdowns. Like, that cannot happen. If that happens, Oklahoma will lose.
And especially, I think that's right. Now, he can beat you from the pocket.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think when he's super dangerous is off schedule on the move. And I think that, for Oklahoma, contain rush, right? Like, making sure and a level rush and I would say a 2x2 rushes, or just essentially accounting for all the different running lanes that can open up when you drop back to throw the football. If you get too far to one side, like if you're a 3 technique or a defensive tackle and you make an inside move, you can't allow that guard to push you back across the center, because then all of a sudden a big running lane opens up. And if Spencer Sanders sees that, he's going to attack that and he's going to take advantage of that. And he has no problem tucking and running when those lanes open up. And he's got no problem keeping his eyes downfield if he flushes, can get outside and locate a target down the field. So I'm with you wholeheartedly. And it's going to be important. Like, there's something to that as a defensive lineman. You want to get off the ball and get to the quarterback as quickly as possible. but you've got to do it under control and understand that if you get too far outside or too far inside, different running lanes, different things open up for Spencer Sanders to take advantage of, and that can't happen. And then when you're coming from the outside, like those ends, those edge players, they cannot allow him get to the perimeter. When he bounces and gets to the perimeter, I think that's when he's at times his most dangerous. And that's going to be a real key for the defensive ends, the defensive tackles. My guess would be we've seen them in the past. They're probably going to play some spy technique. I would imagine they've used Danny a little bit at times, going back to the Kansas State game. I wonder how much we see some of that. But when you have the opportunity, or whenever they drop back to pass, just being cognizant and making sure that you're not allowing him to, really take advantage of this game with his mobility. It's really the biggest key in the game, right? Because that's what it's going to come down to. And if they can limit those opportunities from Spencer Sanders, they'll give themselves a chance to have success. If they don't, he's going to have a chance to do what he's done to a lot of defenses this season and have a big day.
Yeah. And it's a big challenge, right? This is a much better Oklahoma State offense than what they saw a week ago in Morgantown, in my opinion. And while I think they do have some pretty substantial weaknesses along that offensive line, especially at offensive tackle, it's a group that when it has found a rhythm this year, they've put up yards and put up points.
Yep.
So it's a big challenge, especially with the tempo they're playing with. It's a big challenge for this Oklahoma defense.
And especially after big plays, getting the call, getting lined up, getting your cleats in the ground. Because like you said, I mean, it is breakneck speed. It is very fast. To me, you almost have to have a pretty simple game plan going in. Like it can't be a lot of thinking and trying to pick the perfect defensive play. The players are going to have to make the calls right, because I think you got to go in with a pretty limited menu and just be ready to go when that ball snap, because Oklahoma goes really fast. I don't know if anybody goes as fast as Oklahoma State. Like when they want to, when they go hyper mode, it's like, man, they get on the football and they get it snapped very quickly. There might be a lot of plays in this game, Gabriel. We could be in for a 3:45, 4-hour affair on Saturday night, because if I was setting the over under at 160 plays, I think it's going to soar over that number, but it's going to make for some very compelling, competitive football on Saturday night. And I think I speak for most of the state of Oklahoma. We can't wait for this Bedlam matchup on Saturday. Thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. And a reminder to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also check out our website, strengtheningok.com. To the people that have been subscribing, been contributing, thank you. We appreciate that very much. For the new people that are showing up, checking us out on YouTube, or wherever it may be, we appreciate you guys as well. We'll talk to you again on Friday. We appreciate you. We thank you. And we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.